Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's Erick Erickson here. Delighted to have you with me this fine day. Happy birthday to my wife. We'll get into that in a little bit. And the continuing resolution. Goodness gracious. Boy, do we have to get into the continuing resolution. The phone number, if you want to be on the program, 877-973-7425. You can text Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Be sure to get the podcast and the live stream. Particularly, I'll be back with you. I'm going to be gone on Monday, and I'll be back on Christmas Eve on Tuesday with the Christmas show. Had a great conversation with Pastor Joey Martin down in Jacksonville for that show, and have several other great conversations for you to listen to, in addition to a lot of the other stuff for the Christmas Eve show. It'll be great. Now, I got to begin here because I've been waiting for this to happen, and it seems to be happening. You recall, if you will, the stages of grief, 5 stages of grief. There's denial, there's anger, there's bargaining, there's depression, and there's acceptance. The Democrats are in an array of those stages, but some of them, after, the depression, are turning to anger. And their anger is exactly as I predicted. I told you this was going to happen. Democrats are suddenly realizing the man they said was such a hero, such an icon, such a statesman, such a leader, Joe Biden, is not so much. I was actually on with Leland Vittert last night on News Nation, and we were talking about this. The Pod Save America bros, they worked for Barack Obama. They went out. They're progressives. They moved to L.A. They got a sweetheart deal doing a podcast that lots of the Democrats turn to and listen to, and they're not very happy right now. Listen to some of it.
Trump isn't president yet. A fact that's getting easier and easier to forget as Joe Biden seems to be disappearing from the public stage as his term comes to an end.
Joe Biden believes in tradition and institutions, and we should only have one president at a time. And I think it's a surprising choice to allow it to be Donald Trump.
Wow. Now, here's the notable punchline for those guys from Pod Saves America. If you remember the fundraiser in Hollywood that George Clooney and Barack Obama did, and the video came out of Joe Biden having to be led off stage by Barack Obama. Conservatives pointed this out, that look at the full clip, not the short clip, look at the full clip, and Barack Obama has to have his hand on Joe Biden's back the entire time, leading him off stage. Something's wrong. And some people came out and said, no, that's not true. That's not what I saw at the event. Only for it to turn out that George Clooney himself and others after that event were like, yeah, something's not right here. And Clooney tried to deflect a little bit and said, the guy on that debate stage you see in wasn't the guy I saw just a few weeks ago. Something's happening. Others came out and said, yeah, actually, Joe Biden was clearly off that night on that stage. The Pod Bros were there with Obama. They were there for the event. They defended Joe Biden at the time. They denied what we saw with our own eyes was true. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. Just ask them. They were there. They were eyewitnesses. It wasn't selectively edited video. Never mind, it never was selectively edited video. They wanted you to believe that it was selectively edited video and that everything was fine with Joe Biden. We all knew that wasn't the case. Now, they're all upset. They're all upset. They covered for Joe Biden. They carried water for Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is not delivering for them. They somehow want Joe Biden to stack the deck against Donald Trump. There's only so much a president of the United States can actually do. And Joe Biden isn't really out there to be seen. Now, this audio is a little bit hard to hear. I'm fast forwarding through the reporter's question because the reporter, you can't hear him on the microphone. Joe Biden is standing outside somewhere, the White House, I think, talking to reporters. This is him about the drones.
Nothing nefarious, apparently, but they're checking it all out. I think it's just one There's a lot of drones authorized.
Nothing nefarious, we think. A lot of drones authorized. There he is. Mildly coherent at nighttime. Now, we don't know that it's actually nighttime. That could have been at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, thanks to the freaking time change. It's pitch black outside. Donald Trump says he wants to get rid of daylight saving time. I don't think we're going to get rid of it. Just as a random aside here. Random aside, tangent in the middle of this. Yes, ADHD on display. Half of America are creepy morning people. The other half are normal people who like to stay up at night. And those of us who are normal people, we like to leave work and have sun and hang out with our families outside and play some golf. It's the sociopaths who get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym, who want sun in the morning. Now, you're a sociopath. Let's just be honest here. You morning people are sociopaths. You need to recognize you are psychotic to be up that early. Dad, I'm talking to my father right now, who, I mean, as he gets older, gets up early and earlier. At some point, my father's going to reach the age where he's just staying up 24/7 because he already gets up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I do not understand how any human being does that. I have looked. They have no rose bed for me to dig under and see if there are bodies. But I'm telling you, you early morning people, y'all are all sociopaths, my father included. I'm not sure I can fully trust you when you get up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And some of you go to CrossFit that early in the morning. I swear you're going to CrossFit and then you're burying your bodies in the backyard or something. Sociopaths. Normal people want to come home in the afternoon and have sun up, go outside, play some golf, have time with their family, and then watch the sunset and go to bed. Instead, the sunset at like 4 o'clock in the evening. That is too early in the day. I want to get rid of standard time and keep us on daylight savings time. But you morning people are like, no, we need it in the morning. Like the speed cameras around schools. We got to do it for the children. It's not for the children. The children are perfectly fine getting up before it's sunup and going to school. It's for you. You want to be able to go to the gym and see because you're at your age. You got astigmatism, and you can't drive at night, so you got to have the sun up in the morning. No. Get rid of standard time, keep daylight saving time, whatever you do, stop the fallback, spring forward. But that's why we're not, because you morning sociopaths are going to complain that you got to have your sun in the morning. Normal people are going to complain they want sun in the afternoon, and so Congress will do exactly what Congress does. Nothing. We'll have no time change. Okay, that was a tangent from the tangent, off of one tangent, back to another tangent, back to Joe Biden now that I got that off my chest. Felt good to get that off my chest. I love you, Father. I do love you. But really, at some point, you're going to be up 24 hours a day. You're getting up so early. All of you people in the mornings, and you're going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. My trainer goes to the gym at 4:15 every morning. I don't understand you people. Nonetheless, I digress again. Y'all, this was always going to happen. Joe Biden was always about himself. And the Democrats had to, in their defense of Joe Biden, build up some story about him being a great patriot. Building up some wild story that Joe Biden is some sort of American hero. Joe Biden's not an American hero. He's one of the most selfish politicians, not selfless, selfish politicians in American history. The man's wife is killed. His daughter is killed. His two sons lose their mother. And he says, well, got to leave you with the nanny. I got to go be a senator in Washington, D.C. And he's there for 50 years. And he brags about, I took the Acela home every night and really spent time with my kids during standard time when it was pitch black outside, so he couldn't even go do stuff. Joe Biden has been wrong about everything in 50 years. He's not a good person. If you think he's a good person, go talk to the granddaughter he had to be bullied into acknowledging was his. Go talk to the people who won't get pardoned for won't see pardons for their kids for gun crimes, and then go talk to Hunter Biden for his pardon over gun crimes, or just read his letter after the shooting the other day at Abundant Life Christian School. But you Democrats had to tell yourselves that he was some sort of hero. He was some sort of great person. He was some sort of saintly person. And now you get to see the Joe Biden the rest of us have seen. He's a doddering old fool with dementia who's selfish, and you have been covering for him the whole time. It's really rich that you guys are upset about Joe Biden now because, Joe Biden hasn't changed. This is the same Joe Biden the rest of us have seen. You're only just now willing to acknowledge the problems with Joe Biden. And there are a lot of problems with Joe Biden. And now you're upset he's not doing enough to stop Donald Trump. Here's the other bottom line on all of this stuff is you can't really stop Donald Trump. One president can do very little to limit the powers of the incoming president. He can certainly try to sell off the border wall, and Trump is going to court to try to enjoin Biden from doing that. Joe Biden can certainly flood Ukraine with a lot of money that Donald Trump won't be able to recall. He can do some things, but not as much as the Democrats want. Remember back in 2000, the losers, they decided to pry the W's off the keyboards in the White House. They might as well pry the T's off the keyboards in the White House. Now, people went to jail for doing that, damaged public property. They'll go to jail this time, but, they'll go to jail proud. They'll be heroes like the guy who leaked everybody's taxes on the right. You'll make them a hero. You'll want a presidential pardon in the future, nonsense like that. There's only so much Joe Biden can do. And by the way, your fallback is Kamala Harris. How rich is that? You now want Joe Biden. This is the pipe dream of the left, just so you know. The pipe dream on the left now is that Joe Biden should resign so that Kamala Harris becomes the 47th president to undermine all of the themes and the merchandise for Donald Trump being the 47th president. Is that not the dumbest thing you've heard? This is how petty the Democrats are right now. They want Biden to resign just so all of the paraphernalia the Trump campaign is selling related to the number 47 really applies to Kamala Harris. That's how petty they are. You guys elected a man with dementia. You've covered for him for 4 years. And only now are you willing to admit, you're not just realizing it, you've known it all along. You're now finally willing to admit he is who the rest of us have been telling you the whole time. And you don't want to acknowledge that we're right, so you're trying to conjure up new excuses to be able to deny he is who he is. Joe Biden hasn't changed at all. Neither has Jill Biden. And the two of them together have lived off the federal dole for a very long time. It's coming to the end. And you're ludicrous if you think he's somehow going to resign before they cart him off. There's no way. And you're ludicrous to think that Joe Biden is going to take the steps you want him to take to stop Donald Trump, when the fact of the matter is Joe Biden's as mad at you as you are at him. He is convinced that he could have beaten Donald Trump. He's convinced of it still. Yes, friends, this may be news to you, but Joe Biden is actually convinced, had the Democrats not thrown him overboard, he'd be on course for re-election as president of the United States. That's how absurdly arrogant and depraved Joe Biden is. He thinks he could have won and that Kamala Harris was just a weak candidate. The Democrats, in other words, are getting exactly what they deserve from all of this. They propped him up, they covered for him, they made excuses for him, and now they finally have to recognize we were right all along on who Joe Biden was, is, and always will be.
You can follow Erick around on social media at EW Erickson on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And check him out at EWErickson.com.
Yes, please do. And if you want to be on the program, it's 877-973-7425. Happy to have you. Again, just so you guys know, I will be here the rest of this week. Going to be gone on Monday, back on Tuesday. We'll re-air Tuesday show on Wednesday for Christmas, and then I'll be back after New Year's on the 6th. I'm going to have a little bit of time off. So my son's birthday was last week, and we ordered him a piano, a Kawai, after many of you recommended it, and it arrived today. Today is my wife's birthday, so it arrived on her birthday. She kind of wanted a new piano as well. So they are at home playing on the piano, and listen, the sound of silence in my office. It's a glorious thing. So Disney is having a moment. The media is furious with Disney for paying Donald Trump $15 million to settle a claim from ABC News. ABC News, on background, people are saying Disney executives were worried about facing a jury in the state of Florida. They were worried about precedent being set at the Supreme Court that could be bad for the First Amendment. And I suspect they were actually worried about what would be discovered in discovery, although they don't want to say that. At the same time, they have canceled a trans storyline they were going to put in a kids program. The program was Win or Lose. It's a Pixar streaming series about a co-ed high school team. It debuts in February. Disney had bragged that it was going to have a transgender plot within the storyline, and they have now announced they are excising the transgender storyline from it. And the left, of course, is furious. Another cave to Donald Trump and what happened with the election. Seth Dillon, who owns Babylon Bee, tweeted this out a little while ago. He said, quote, "Let's not give them too much credit. Like a predator stalking a child, they got spooked and ran off when the parents showed up." He's not wrong. They're going to find ways to continue to do this. You know, there was a hearing in Congress yesterday that there are only 10 trans athletes in the NCAA. And the Democrats say, well, if there are only 10 out of 510,000 NCAA athletes, maybe there's nothing to be worried about. And when the response is, you're right, we shouldn't have to reorder society to accommodate just 10 trans athletes. And they're going, no, got to reorder all of society to accommodate these 10. We're being played. We're being played. But at least right now, the media, Disney at least, realizes where things are headed and what they should and shouldn't do. Good. Now, you should go to Hillsdale College at erickforhillsdale.com. Go sign up today. Take a special class on the Christmas Carol. Now, you're thinking, I don't want to take a class at Christmas Carol. It's actually really good and perfectly timed for the Christmas season. It's a series of lectures on video. You do at your own pace by an assistant professor of English at Hillsdale College. You get a certificate after you've done it, certify you've taken this class at Hillsdale College, and you learn about the deeper meanings and themes within Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. It's perfect for this time of year. And you also get to experience what makes Hillsdale College so unique. Not only that, you can sign up for Imprimus completely free. Imprimus comes to your mailbox every month with the latest thinking of the conservative movement. This month actually has a great piece from Kevin Roberts in it from the Heritage Foundation. All you got to do, go to erickforhillsdale.com, ERICK, erickforhillsdale.com. Sign up for Hillsdale College. Take this class on the Christmas Carol. Take Imprimus for free. Get their podcasts. They've got such great stuff. Erick, ERICK, erickforhillsdale.com. Sign up and start a relationship with Hillsdale College today. Welcome back. It is Erick Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. Y'all, I'll spend way more time on this at Christmas Eve. But today is my wife's birthday. I will be a good husband and not say my wife's age. I don't know that she would matter, but I won't. But let me just talk to you about the real world for a moment, because we're obsessed with politics. We're obsessed with the news. We're obsessed with so many things that oftentimes I think in the grand scheme of things don't necessarily matter. On December, I want to say it was December 21st. It might have been December 20th, but I think it's the 21st of 2006. I lost my job. And my wife was at a doctor's appointment, and she's coming in the driveway, and I got to tell her I'm out of a job. I took a leap of faith. I left my law practice. I helped get redstate.com off the ground, was the editor-in-chief and the CEO of the company. Republicans lost Congress in November of 2006, and our revenue went from a lot of money to nothing overnight. And we didn't have the revenue, and I needed to find a new job. We had enough money to pay me through the end of the year. And so I went downstairs to wait for my wife, and my wife was at the door, and she had a look on her face of just terror. And she came in and said she had to pack her stuff and go to the hospital. She had been at a doctor's appointment over some stuff they had found in her lungs during an exam, and she had a blood clot in her jugular vein, which is very, very rare, very hard to do just because of the high rate of blood flow through your jugular vein. To have a blood clot there is something. And so she had to go to the hospital. And when she got there, the doctors were there to tell her that they were going to take her in for surgery because she probably had some form of cancer causing that blood clot, given the spots in her lungs. So less than a week before Christmas in 2006, I had lost my job. And on the same day, I had to wait for my wife to wake up from a lung biopsy to tell her that she was going to die. 6 months is all she had. Less than a week before Christmas in 2006. And I got to tell you, I get sometimes frustrated with some listeners who they email me and they're so worked up about the election, or they disagree with me on some political point and they're just furious, and the people, I'll never listen to you again because you don't agree with this, blah, 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 blah. And all I can think is, there is so much more to life than whatever it is you're worked up about. I literally had to tell my wife she was going to die. There had been a wreck. The doctors were needed in the emergency room. The weather was terrible, and they said they would either come back or I could be the one to do it. And I volunteered. I went to that recovery room, and I waited for her to come out of her anesthesia, to open her eyes, to be coherent, to ask what they found. And I told her they had found cancer, and there was nothing they could do. And they had sewn her back up and said she had 6 months. And oh, by the way, I've got to leave you now because our 1-year-old is at daycare, and I've got to go get her from daycare before they close. So I left and I got my kid, and I went home and I sunk down in the mud. It was pouring down rain, and I began to cry, and my kid is patting me on the face, telling me everything is okay. I mean, not telling me, but just, a 1-year-old patting you on your face as if everything's going to be fine. I got her inside, waited for family to come. Got her dried off, got her fed, got her in bed, did some serious praying and crying at my desk, sending emails to people that, oh my God, my wife is going to die. Went back to the hospital and began all those deep, meaningful conversations. My wife, by the way, convinced she is going to be fine. Convinced. I'm like, the doctors know what they're talking about. And we had those conversations you never want to have. How do you raise the kid? Where do you raise the kid? What do you do? Do you remarry? What? Had all those conversations. right at Christmas. The doctors came in the next day, thankfully, said they had looked again and they really weren't sure what she had in her lungs, but they were pretty sure maybe it wasn't after all this rare form of cancer that had spread into her lungs from elsewhere. Thankfully, they were right. They sent the sample off to the Mayo Clinic. And right before Christmas in 2006, we got the reprieve. She would not be dying. She had much longer than 6 months to live. And however awful that was, the twist in this, you can say luck, providence, whatever. I go with the word providence. Had they not misdiagnosed her in 2006, fast forward 10 years, 2016, 10 years ago, or 8 years ago from now, I was being wheeled into a cardiac ICU unit, given 24 hours to live. My lungs had filled up with blood clots. My family was told they needed to come, that I was bad off. I still have damage to this. It was so extensive. I still deal with issues. But I was fine. But as they're wheeling me in, my wife was calling me saying, hey, the Mayo Clinic called me. They think I've got lung cancer. As I'm trying to call her to tell her, hey, you need to get your family. I've got 24 hours to live. Maybe. It was a wild, wild day. My wife's parents took her out to the Mayo Clinic in Arizona. I wasn't allowed on an airplane. Took her to the Mayo Clinic. They did another lung biopsy, her second. Then sure enough, had they not misdiagnosed her in 2006, they would have never known to even think that she might have lung cancer, and she does. Stage 4. It's genetic. There is no cure. And again, you can call it luck, you can call it providence, whatever you want to say. The doctor who really was the expert on this cancer and who helped develop the medicine that keeps people who have this cancer alive is at Emory University just up the road from us. And so the doctors at the Mayo Clinic were like, we would love to be your doctors, but the expert is an hour from your house as opposed to across the country from you. So that guy is her doctor. And the medicine works for 2 years. So 8 years ago, in October of 2016, my wife was put on a medicine and said she would have 2 years. It would buy her 2 more years of life. We enrolled our kids at a new school. My wife, unbeknownst to me, had a meeting with the principal and the headmaster and told them they were going to have to promise her to take care of her kids because she wouldn't be there. My wife's mom died when she was in first grade. And it was very hard on my wife to think that she herself would leave our daughter in a similar situation where her mother would never be there to see her walk across the stage at graduation. She had 2 years. That was 8 years ago. Last night, I made my wife a birthday cake. Went to bed about 11:45 p.m. last night. And the layers were still hot, so I got back up at 3:15 this morning to finish the cake after the layers had cooled down, and then went back to bed. And when I get home this evening, we will celebrate her birthday. I've already given her her gift. 8 years later, she's still here with us. She did see her daughter cross the graduation stage. We hope she'll be here in 2 more years to see our son cross the graduation stage. We don't know. We don't know. We hope, we pray. I say all this, and we'll talk more about it on Christmas Eve, because that tends to be what I do to set the stage for the Christmas Eve show. But I wanted to, very publicly, tell you guys, my wife is just amazing. She does strongman competitions. She has pulled a UPS truck. She has a Harley. She's got a tattoo sleeve she's working on. She has more shotguns than me. She claims to be slightly taller than me. I dispute this claim. I dispute it will never recognize it nor admit it. She claims it. She wears high heels. But she's amazing. And she's here. She's here. A lot of you are struggling at Christmas. I get the emails. Got an email from someone yesterday, as a matter of fact. They were going through a divorce at Christmas. They have young kids. It is not, the correspondent says, a matter of infidelity. It's a matter of they never should have done it in the first place. They never got along to begin with. They had a child before they were married and got married, and the whole thing is crumbling. I got an email last week from someone who is struggling to pay his mortgage. People have miserable times all year long, but this is the time of year where you have sociopaths on television who go out and buy their wives brand new Lexuses without even talking to them first and put giant bows on the cars. I mean, the pressure is on for you to have the perfect Christmas. If sociopath on TV is buying his wife a Lexus without her permission or knowledge, without even getting her sense of what sort of car she wanted or color she wanted, and finding a giant bow and putting it on, I mean, it sets a very high bar for Christmas. All the TV shows, all the catalogs, all the magazines in the aisle at the checkout at your local grocery store, they got the perfect tree, they got the perfect cake, they got the perfect Christmas, they got the perfect bows on the perfect presents. You got a very high bar. You have a very high bar. And then some of you are so excited because your guy won the election. Some of you are depressed your gal lost the election. Some of you are beside yourselves because you think the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Look at what's going on in the world. Look at the school shootings. Look at the headlines. Look at the wars. Look at all this stuff. I want to tell you, as we head into Christmas and you're fretting about your last minute shopping and your perfect ham or your perfect turkey or your perfect present or your perfect bow, it's all a bunch of garbage. It is a pressure put on yourself. I want it too. But there are so many more important things in life. There are so many more important things in life than an election, than a headline, than something far away that causes you terrors at night, than a drone flashing through the sky that you don't know where it came from or where it's going. There are so many bigger, more important things in life, and they tend to be around your family. And I want you to know, as someone who had to look his wife in the eyes and tell her she was going to die, I have been through those struggles. I have friends right now who have spouses who are dying, and they won't get the reprieve my wife got. I have friends who have lost children in the past year. They won't get the reprieve my wife got. There will be an emptiness around the Christmas tree this year. I think of those poor people in Madison, Wisconsin at that school where you know and I know there were presents under a tree that will be unopened and probably have to be returned because the person they were meant for got shot and killed the other day. Life is not easy. Life is oftentimes unfair. But you've been given one. You've been given opportunity. And as hard as it is sometimes not to despair, I'm telling you, the world is better off with all of us, yourself included, in it. And don't listen to the darkness. Don't be dragged down to despair. The God of all creation sent his son, who was born in a food trough, probably in a cave, who lived a perfect life and still was executed, beaten, tortured, nailed to a cross, and died because he wants a relationship with us. It was a plan put in place before the foundation of the world itself was set in place. So everything's going to be okay. All things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. I have lived misery at Christmas and came out on the other side. And you're going to be just fine. I know it may not seem like it right now, But the key at Christmas time is not the presents. It's not even the gathering of family. It's certainly not the financial pressure. What it is that relationship you can have with the Almighty, with your family. But I just want you to know, as we head into talking about raw politics on the other side of this break, that life is too short to be worried about politics. When you've got a neighbor who could use a smile, or you yourself could use one, love your neighbor. That matters so much more than who won an election. Now, let me tell you about Americans for Prosperity before I get out of here. AFP would love to have you involved. You want to make some great connections and build some new relationships with people. They've got chapters in just about every state, and they have activists involved who are fighting for common sense conservative solutions. They'd love to have you involved with them. Go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer today. americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Sign up with AFP. You'll learn how to be an effective conservative activist. You'll get all the facts and figures to be the smartest person in your circle of friends. They can teach you how to knock on doors to persuade neighbors or show up at local or state governments, make persuasive cases for you and your family. Americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. I'm a member too. Love to have you with me. Americansforprosperity.org/volunteer.
When the world seems crazy, he'll keep you sane. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
Hello and welcome. It is Erick Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. When we get back, top of the hour, we'll go through how bad the continuing resolution is and why the Republicans are going to pass it anyway. My friend Kat Kamek, Congresswoman from Florida, I saw last night on Instagram. She put up a post that conservatives in the House need their own OnlyFans account, considering how often they get screwed. It's a very funny line. I was at my office late last night. I had to do a TV interview, and then I had to get stuff ready for when I'm on vacation. Had to get stuff ready for my Christmas Eve show. Record some interviews with some folks, and I had on in the background the crypto golf match in Las Vegas. First of all, they did it, and it was night, which was kind of wild. They had Shadow Creek, a golf course I've always wanted to play out in Las Vegas. They had it all lit up. Night golf is a big thing in Japan. It's kind of wild to see it. The shadows mess with you, but it was interesting because it was the two live players, Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, playing against Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler, basically number one and number two in golf. And the live guys don't really qualify for those sorts of rankings these days. And it was all the live players have essentially insisted that they're as good as the PGA, and Bryson DeChambeau is a brilliant player, seems like a very nice guy, but it really wasn't close. And I realized that things change and that people can have bad rounds, but McIlroy is notorious for messing up at the bitter end. In fact, Bryson DeChambeau beat him in the U.S. Open golf match at Pinehurst this year because McIlroy kind of choked at the end. But my gosh, Scheffler and McIlroy, both of them, by the way, really good guys. Just head and shoulders above Koepka and DeChambeau. Bryson DeChambeau just seems like a nice guy. There's a story there for those of you unfamiliar. Just he had a very, very negative reputation and has just completely rebuilt it. It just seems like a really, really nice guy. But what a mess. What a match. All right, when we come back, the CR. That's all right. I was keeping my eye on the clock just to be safe. Sorry. Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome across the fruited plain. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, if you text Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, so much more. You're going to want the live stream next Tuesday and Wednesday for Christmas. We'll have the Christmas show. By request, actually, I'm going to replay my conversation with, gosh, what last name escapes me all of a sudden? The former president of the Bart Barber, duh. I'm like, Bart Barber, who was the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, who a couple years ago at Christmas time, I talked to him, and he and his family were dealing with his mother, who had Alzheimer's. It was a great, great show, and several people said, would you please, just because of things they're going through in life, replay that? I'm happy to. And have an interview with Joby Martin from Church 1122 down in Jacksonville, Florida, and several other great ones for you Tuesday, and we'll re-air on most stations on Wednesday. Some stations just running music all day, which is understandable. Keep staff limited, not have to deal with this, but we'll be here on air nationwide on the 24/7 feed if you text Erick to 33777. Kat Kammack is a friend of mine from the state of Florida. She is a member of Congress. She is one of the funniest people you will meet. And yesterday, after the continuing resolution came out, she put up a tweet that read, conservatives in the House of Representatives should start an OnlyFans account given how often we get screwed. The CR is bad, and the CR is bad, and a lot of conservatives are not going to vote for it. And it's probably going to pass. Among other things, the legislation will exempt members of Congress from Obamacare. Remember, when Obamacare passed, one of the conditions was members of Congress would have to go into Obamacare. This continuing resolution is going to pull members of Congress out of Obamacare. Not their staff, mind you, just the members of Congress. It's a terrible deal. Here is my friend.
The conference.
Well, let me reset this. My friend Chip Roy, congressman from Texas, was interviewed about this deal.
The conference needs to decide whether we're actually serious about spending. They talk about, well, we got to do mandatory spending reform and bend the curve. But we just voted on a $200 billion shift of dollars in Social Security that's going to shorten the time when Social Security expires or goes bankrupt. We're just fundamentally unserious about spending. And as long as you got a blank check, you can't shrink government. If you can't shrink government, you can't live free.
Do you plan on supporting this?
That's Congressman Chip Roy, friend of mine, been on the show a number of times, good personal friend, furious about this package and the amount of spending. Speaker Johnson's been making the rounds on this.
And Mr. Speaker, it's not just, so you've got a bunch of Republicans who are angry at you. They don't like this. And just in a couple of weeks, you're going to stand once again to run for Speaker of the House. And you don't need a bunch of Democrats mad at you. But you know, and this is breaking news you do not know. You know who also does not like this? Elon Musk, the world's richest man, just tweeted, this bill should not pass. The only way you're going to be able to pass it now, Mr. Speaker, is with Democrats. If you could, what's your message to Elon Musk?
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. And I was explaining to them the background of this. And Vivek and I talked last night about almost midnight. And he said, look, I get it. He said, we understand you're in an impossible position. Everybody knows that. Remember, guys, we still have just a razor thin margin of Republicans. So any bill has to have Democrat votes. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either. We got to get this done because here's the key. By doing this, we are clearing the decks and we are setting up for Trump to come in roaring back with the America First agenda. That's what we're going to run with gusto beginning January 3rd when we start the new Congress, when Republicans, again, are in control. And all of our fiscal conservative friends, I'm one of them, will be able to finally do the things that we've been wanting to do for the last couple of years. Right now, Democrats still control pens, and that's the problem. So we got to get this thing done so we don't have the shutdown, so we get the short-term funding measure, and we get to March where we can put our fingerprints on the spending. That's when the big changes start, and we can't wait to get there.
So you understand the speaker's position here. Here's. Let me just talk to you about this in really practical terms. By the way, let me get out first. I think they should kill this deal. I think it's a bad deal. I think exempting members of Congress from Obamacare is a bad thing. One good thing that's in the legislation is they will essentially penalize American companies that are helping the Chinese build out technology that could be used against us, but that could pass on its own probably. This is a terrible piece of legislation. It probably should be killed. I hope Elon Musk is whispering to Donald Trump, try to get him to scuttle it. But I do want you to see, knowing my position, at least let me explain the other side to you. Republicans had the opportunity earlier this year to pass a spending package that actually was not bad compared to this one. It spent less money. It made more cuts. It was much better than the spending package. And it was about a half dozen to a dozen conservative members of the House of Representatives, all Republicans, who sabotaged that deal. They didn't like it and they didn't want it, and they had to restructure it, and they kicked the can on everything until now. So those conservatives could have gotten a better deal then, and instead are now getting this. The reason the speaker wants the deal done at this moment is because they don't want to bog down and burden Donald Trump when he gets into office and immediately wants to start on reconciliation. They want a plan that can last until March of next year. So when Donald Trump comes into office, they can immediately begin work on reconciliation and restructuring the spending in Washington, D.C. That's part of the issue. It's a terrible plan, though. But again, the speaker would tell you, and I will tell you, and it is the truth, that the Republicans need Democratic votes because there is such a slim margin. There are Republicans who will never vote for the spending package. And the Democrats have held out. So you do need to understand this. As much as I hate the plan and think it needs to be killed, I do understand the speaker's position is that there are a handful of Republicans who will not vote for any spending package whatsoever. And since they will vote for no spending package whatsoever and the government must be funded, they're not going to shut down the government. They got an obligation to fund the government. They're not going to shut it down. They can't get these Republicans, so they got to get Democrats. Well, the way to get Democrats is to throw money at them, and that's what they've had to do. You and I can disagree with it, but I at least understand the position the speaker is in. This is the speaker. He was on Newsmax.
You know, Mr. Speaker, you've got a very slim majority right now, a slim majority in the new Congress next year. Do you have any concerns that this deal will impact the vote for your speakership to continue, or might this cost you the gavel?
No, I don't think it will. I mean, look, we have a series of difficult choices, and it doesn't matter who the speaker is. We'd be facing the same exact dilemma. We've tried to navigate this as best as possible and chosen the least of the bad options in front of us. No one wants to spend $110 billion, but when you have emergencies that are actually, you know, as they're legally called acts of God, these are not man-made disasters. They're outside of our control, and there's a certain principle that the federal government has some role to play. So we don't like that. We don't like spending money. But in a case like this, you know, to be frank, it would be the red states that are left out. It would be the rural areas. You know, Democrats don't have a big priority on the agriculture community because they don't have that in their districts. These are Republican states and Republican districts, and we would be derelict in our duty if we didn't take care of them. So that's the part of this that is uncomfortable for people. We don't like spending money, but we have to do it responsibly.
But and again, it comes back to there's a grab bag in this. It's not just that. And the speaker can rightfully say, well, here's the problem. We can only lose maybe 3 Republican votes. And there are 6 Republicans who won't vote for any spending package under the sun unless we're rolling back government. Therefore, we have to have Democrats to get this passed to fund these rural areas and to fund natural disaster package for North Carolina, Georgia, and the like from the hurricanes. And to get those Democrats, since we've lost so many Republicans, 6 Republicans, which isn't a lot, but they'll never get them. We got to give the Democrats things they want to get their votes. That is the process. That is the mess. That is how bad it is. The Republicans could, in a room together, come up with a spending package, but there would probably still be 4 or 5 Republicans who would refuse to vote for it. So the speaker's left going to Democrats, and the Democrats want a lot. They should still kill it. The reasons they should kill it are, there are a multitude of reasons, chief among them being that they have exempted members of Congress from Obamacare. And that in and of itself is a very bad deal. It also includes a provision that would give lawmakers a pay raise for the first time since 2009. It's a cost of living adjustment that Congress has blocked for years. Some staffers, by the way, will be exempt from Obamacare. Some staffers with their members of Congress will be able to get out of Obamacare. I think that in and of itself is enough to kill this legislation. They got to get rid of that language. I understand the speaker's position, and I'm not going to attack the speaker on this because when you can only lose 3 Republicans and you're guaranteed on any spending package to lose 6, he's got to cut a deal with the Democrats. There is literally nothing Mike Johnson can offer these 6 Republicans to get them to vote for any spending package short of cutting the government. And if he does give them what they want, he's going to lose, guess what? A dozen or so other Republicans. He's going to lose more Republicans if he were to give these 6 what they wanted. So he's got to go find as few Democrats as possible to get it across the finish line. And those Democrats came with a list of demands. He's in an unfortunate position. He wanted the position, said all the time, I feel like he's the dog that caught the car and now doesn't know what to do. I would rather a conservative speaker like Mike Johnson be in that position than a spendthrift who's just going to throw money and cut deals and do earmarks and things like that. He doesn't want to do that, but it's still a terrible package. I recognize he's done what he can do, but I think if there's a provision in there that allows members of Congress to get a pay raise and get off Obamacare at the same time, and I'm not actually someone who opposes giving a pay raise. They haven't had one since 2009. Pretty much every American in some capacity has had a pay raise since 2009. I don't mind that, but getting rid of Obamacare and giving them a pay raise at the same time, in addition to it's a massive, massive spending package. I don't think all these Republicans who've gotten priapism from DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and claim they want to help cut government, I don't think that they should be voting for something like this. And a lot of them are out of one side of their mouth saying they love this Department of Government Efficiency, bring on Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and let them cut government. And on the other side of their mouth saying, let's add $110 billion and cut nothing. You got to cut something. And the first thing you can cut is members of Congress going back on Obamacare. This is a bad piece of legislation. I understand the speaker's unfortunate position he's in with such a narrow majority and at least 6 Republicans always voting no on these spending packages. But this is a bad one and needs to die.
He'll do the research and give it to you straight.
Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, Ivan, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you? Great. What's going on? Oh, excellent. And this is what happens if the spending package is killed? This is the problem, and also why they're waiting until the very last minute to trot it out. There's a government shutdown. The government runs out of money on Saturday. So if they don't pass the continuing resolution by this weekend, there's a government shutdown right before Christmas, no less. And Congress has to stick around. That is, just so you understand exactly why this happened. It is not a coincidence that the Republicans and Democrats together conspired to make sure that the continuing resolution comes up the week before Christmas, and that they waited until 2 days before Christmas to get it to a vote, meaning a vote in the Senate may spill over to Saturday for it, because they know members of Congress don't want a government shutdown at Christmas, with news stories about poor government employees not getting paid at Christmas and poor members of Congress having to stay in Washington, D.C. That is exactly why they timed it, and that is exactly why they should do a government shutdown. Members of the media have spent the entire year calling Donald Trump Hitler and all the Republicans enablers of Hitler. Stop being scared of them blaming you for a government shutdown. Democrats want an escape from Obamacare. That in and of itself is why you should shut down the whole government to get that clause out of the continuing resolution. If you got to work over Christmas time, work over Christmas time. We'll all be fine. Everyone is going to be sheltered in place for Christmas anyway. Shut down the government, stay in Washington, and come up with a better plan. I understand you want to get this done now so Donald Trump doesn't have to deal with it when he comes into office January 20th. That is a perfectly reasonable position. But to carve out members of Congress from Obamacare after that was one of the conditions for getting it passed, and to do this massive spending package with a lot of bad stuff in it, including expanding the Department of State's program that combats misinformation that continually targets conservatives, and funding DEI in government. Shut it down. Shut down the government. Work over Christmas. I don't care if you work over Christmas. Redo this. This is a bad deal. I understand the speaker's position, but it's a bad deal. A great deal is going to visioncomputers.com or calling them at 404-COMPUTE and getting them to build you a computer. If you go to 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com, they can build you a computer, save you money, and give you their 5-star customer service, where if you ever have a question, you call them and they give you the answer faster than Google search. They can even remote in if they need to. They can help you with printer support, email support. And if you buy a computer from Vision Computers, they will copy everything from your current computer to your new computer. So when you turn it on, it's just like your old one, except it's better. It's faster. It's going to last you. 404-COMPUTE is their phone number. If you tell them I sent you, you're going to get an even better deal. Now, let's say you need a last-minute present for a family member who they're in the gig economy, mom and dad. They sit at Starbucks all day working. For $179, you can get them Vision's 5-star customer service, where if they ever have a computer problem, they call Vision and Vision takes care of them. You don't even have to have your computer from Vision to do it. And if you tell them I sent you, save more money. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Any one of you nationwide can take advantage of it. 404-COMPUTE. Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It's Erick Erickson here. Belinda, I'm sorry I made you cry. I just saw your note on the call screening. I'm sorry. Did it to myself as well. There is minor breaking news, major for some of you. Elon Musk has just tweeted out, quote, any member of the House or Senate who votes for this outrageous spending bill deserves to be voted out in 2 years. This could be scuttling. I mean, look, as House Republican leaders who elevated Elon Musk into an authority on federal spending, deciding to cooperate with him on setting up the Department of Government Efficiency, and now this, it sounds to me like they might need to listen and scuttle the plan. We'll see how this shakes out. I want to go to Bob's phone call. Bob, welcome to the Erick Erickson Show. How are you? Merry Christmas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Listen, y'all, Bob was a federal employee. Not me. You can't say I don't know what I'm talking about. Bob knows what he's talking about. Look, yeah, there you go. The Republican fear of a government shutdown and being blamed for it. What exactly happened after the Gingrich Republican shutdown? Republicans actually picked up seats in the United States Senate in that election. They certainly did lose some seats in the House, but they were going to lose some seats anyway. And ever since, Republicans are like, "Oh, we're going to be destroyed." No, look, I've been through multiple government shutdowns now. Bob, thanks for the phone call. And Republicans have not been brutalized at the polling. And by the way, we've already had the election. If you shut the government down right now, people will have forgotten about this government shutdown by the next election, which will be in 2026. You've got 2 years before the next election, and Republicans are pooping their britches saying, oh my gosh, the voters, they're going to blame us. No, they're not. They're not even going to remember the government shutdown. Shut it down. Do a better deal. Here's part of the problem. It's 1,500 pages. 1,500 pages. No one's going to be able to read it. No one's going to be able to read it. You got a congressional pay raise. You've got members and some staff who get to opt out of Obamacare now. We literally just had a healthcare CEO murdered in the streets of New York. And Democrats are complaining about insurance, and suddenly they're going to allow themselves out of the insurance program that they set up that has led to people's frustration. Yeah, that's a fantastic look. Is it not? Ron DeSantis is on social media right now saying we need a 28th Amendment that reads, quote, Congress shall make no law respecting the citizens of the United States that does not also apply to members of Congress themselves. Yes, please. That would be wonderful. All of this is just so wild. Need to kill the deal. Need to kill it. Start over. Let there be a government shutdown. Work during Christmas. It's fine. The 1,547-page funding bill includes an extension of the Global Engagement Center, a contributor to the censorship industrial complex, which pressures social media companies to censor Americans. It would be funded for 9 years under the plan. 9 years. Kill the bill. Kill the bill. Now, again, I just so you understand, don't hear this as an endorsement. I'm just trying to explain to you the position of the Speaker of the House, who is unquestionably a conservative. He's the first evangelical social conservative Speaker of the House in American history. Here is his position, and it is twofold. One, deal with these issues now so that Donald Trump doesn't have to take bandwidth away from tax cuts and reconciliation and reform when he gets there. Even if it's not a good plan, it's still a better plan than what the Democrats would do, and it keeps Donald Trump from being bogged down with something that's not his fault. All of the spending, everything was put forward with Biden and the Democrats in charge, and so just carry it into the new year so then it can be dealt with next year in a different way with Republicans in charge of everything. It's unfortunate, but do it, because we shouldn't punish Donald Trump with the Democrats' policies. That's number one. Number two is we have three votes we can lose, and we're guaranteed to lose them because there are Republicans in Congress who refuse to vote for any spending package whatsoever unless we give them exactly what they want. And if we give them exactly what they want, we will lose more Republicans than that. So we have to, one way or the other, cooperate with Democrats to fund the government. The government must be funded. It is an obligation. As Speaker of the House, I have that obligation. Whether I like it or not, I have to do it. Therefore, this is the best of a bad situation. It's a terrible bill. I don't like it either, but this is the reality. Whether you like the rationale or not, he's in an unfortunate position. Again, I'm not going to take shots at the speaker on this because I recognize his unfortunate position, but also I still think it needs to be killed. I think it is bad, and I think the GOP should do a better job, and I do think that they should not be exempting themselves from Obamacare. If the Republicans are too chicken to repeal Obamacare, they should force themselves into the program. That's where I am on this. I understand his rationale. I just disagree with him on this package. Now, I want to move on to other stuff. I will take more of your phone calls. Actually, you know what? Let me take Roger's phone call before I move on here. Roger, welcome to the show. How are you? Great. Yeah, okay. That's a good question. So the a couple of points here. First, so it was Bill Clinton, not Reagan, who was president. The Republicans in Congress, it was part of their contract with America to do the line item veto. They did it. Clinton agreed to sign it. He signed it into law, and the Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional under the federal structure. They would have to have a constitutional amendment, and they couldn't get the votes for it. The speaker himself could strike these things out allegedly. However, every time the speaker strikes something from this before it's put to a vote, and he has to do it before it's put to a vote, not afterwards, he loses votes. So if the speaker says we can't have this in here, he's going to lose some segment of votes. He's got to have a majority of the House to pass it. So that's the problem. Like, I mean, he was on TV and he said, I don't like some of this stuff either, but I don't have the votes to pass a funding package without doing this stuff. And we have to fund the government. Yes. That's kind of where I am. Just shut it down. Shut it down for a couple of weeks. It's over Christmas. The FAA is still going to be funded, so y'all can fly home and get back. Shut it all down. Completely shut it down. Go home, listen to your constituents, come back and redo it. I'm kind of where you are. Look, if I understand his position, I'm trying to be sympathetic to a man who is going to not get enough Republican votes to pass any spending package under the sun. Even I suspect when Donald Trump becomes president, they're going to run into problems with probably a half dozen Republican members of Congress who are going to dig their heels in and say, I will fund no spending package. I get it. What they should do is do a budget. They haven't wanted to do a budget and an appropriations process in a very long time. What they do are these omnibus bills and then continuing resolutions to just fund old stuff. And I get that. But I still think it's a bad deal. I still think it's a bad deal. I just think Republicans have to stop being scared of the press and scared of the blowback for government shutdowns. And I think they are too scared. Congress wants a 40% pay raise. 40% pay raise. I'm not opposed to Congress getting a pay raise. I may be the only person in America. Congress has not had a cost of living adjustment since 2009. Virtually every other American has seen their pay go up since 2009, except members of Congress. I'm not opposed to them doing it. Why? If we keep the cost of being a member of Congress so low, all we're going to get are very rich people running for Congress. And the very richest people in America running for Congress and pricing out the middle class from being able to run for Congress gives us a bunch of arrogant elites in Washington, D.C. So if you boost the pay, you incentivize someone in the middle class, say, you know what, I think I can go run against that arrogant SOB. I'm not opposed to it, but I am very opposed to Republicans who are too chicken to kill Obamacare, passing legislation to pull themselves out of Obamacare while keeping everyone else stuck in Obamacare. That one I'm very much not happy with, and I think they need to reconsider it. That's a boneheaded move for the GOP to do. Now, let me tell you about Old Glory Bank before I get out of here. It would be a boneheaded move for you not to go check out Old Glory Bank. You can get your form filled out online and get a bank account with them. That's what I did over a year ago, well before they started advertising. I went to oldglorybank.com and I filled out the application online, and I got a no-fee checking and a no-fee savings account. Why did I do it? Because I had read in the Wall Street Journal about this bank starting that was by conservatives for conservatives, because so many conservatives were seeing big banks turn off their accounts and close their accounts. In fact, I have sent half dozen businesses there, including one that was a gun store, that its bank sent them a letter with a certified check of all their funds and said, we're no longer going to do business with you. They didn't say why, but we all know it's because they're a gun store. And this particular bank has been pressured by progressive activists to shut down those accounts. And so they went to Old Glory Bank and got their business checking with Old Glory Bank, and they've loved it. Even though they're an online bank, they have sent people to businesses that want loans to spend time with them, to get to know them, to build a relationship with them. They're great people. It's a great bank, and I'm happy to do my banking with them. OldGloryBank.com. You can fill out the form online. You get your account online. They have a great app. They've got a great debit card structure. They really are great. You can do mortgages. You can do lines of credit. You can do CDs. You can do car loans. It's a real bank, headquartered out of Oklahoma. OldGloryBank.com. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
He's got the courage to tell you the actual truth.
Welcome back. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Lister Carroll emailed and asked me what I want for Christmas. I have to be honest with you guys. I am the hardest person to buy a Christmas present for because generally I just buy it. I mean, I've definitely hit dad mode where it's like, oh, I think I want this, so I buy it. I will tell you what I want for Christmas. I asked my wife and kids for a golf mat from which to hit golf balls off into a golf net that I can use outside. Those are the big ones. And then there is a ice maker called a Claris, and it makes the big clear ice cubes, the giant big cubes, 2-inch by 2-inch for bourbon. I asked for that. They're kind of pricey gifts, though. And then there were 2 cookbooks I wanted. I want this year's annual collection of Southern Living recipes, and then Dolly Parton and her sister have out a cookbook that came out a couple months ago. I wanted that one. I'll tell you what I really want. Y'all, this is kind of dumb and selfish. So when I got started in radio, it was by accident. A local radio show host got arrested in a crack house, literally. And I was on CNN at the time and running Red State, and the local station here where I live in Macon, Georgia, Cumulus Station, I asked if I would fill in for the guy. I did for a day, turned into 3 days. They fired the guy, and I just kept coming back every day. 3 months, got paid in an expired gift certificate at Outback Steakhouse. And wound up when I was doing my syndicated show just in Georgia, 9 a.m. to noon, was on their station. Well, when I moved noon to 3, Cumulus picked Dan Bongino to be their voice noon to 3 on their stations, so they couldn't have me and him together. And there was not a slot for me. But, Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles and the Daily Wire guys are leaving radio, and it frees up slots on that station. I was really hoping for Christmas I would get the news that they would put me back on in delay in my home market. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that's kind of my odd, funny Christmas. I really want to be back on, and I know it's dumb, particularly, but everybody already listens online. I get every time I go to the grocery store, someone, so I might as well be on like real radio in Macon, where I am. I would love to get back on that station, but I don't know that that's going to happen. That's kind of my wild card Christmas list thing. I know it's kind of silly, but that is. I suspect I'm getting golf gear because I see all the I get push alerts on all the things that get put on the family credit card, and I saw one last night. It was kind of pricey, but it looks like it's going to be something. I have no idea what it is, though. Like, I looked, and I can't figure out what on earth is my wife spending that on for me for golf. But I totally. The other thing I want is every year there's a place in Georgia called Barnsley Resort. And every year my family says, guilt-free, go for a weekend without us and hit golf balls, smoke cigars, drink beer, have fun, invite your friends. That's something else I would not mind having because I could use a break. I love my family. I could use a break on occasion. We'll see. I don't know what I'll get. It's the thought that counts. It is the thought that counts. My wife, she's not listening right now, so I can tell y'all I'm buying her. She's really, really, really into in-depth Bible studies, and so I'm buying her a Old and New Testament Bible commentary set that she's wanted digitally because way too expensive in paper, and she didn't want the paper anyway. My son, I'm taking him to Las Vegas the week after Christmas to see a Golden Knights hockey game. And my wife took care of all the stuff for our daughter, which is mostly Taylor Swift stuff and jewelry. So we're squared away. All right. I hope you guys get what you want for Christmas. I hope someone is getting you Omaha Steaks for Christmas. Is that not a great transition? Omaha Steaks has been America's butcher since 1917. And right now, just in time for Christmas, site-wide, they've got 50% off. Not only that, at checkout, if you put in my name, Eric, as a promo code, you get an extra $30 off. Minimum order required at omahasteaks.com. You get deliciousness delivered to your door. You get the caramel apple tartlets, which are my wife's favorite. You get, what else do you get? You get the bacon wrap fillets, which are pretty special. I love their New York strips. You can even find dry age selections. You can find seafood. Their Argentine red tail shrimp are fantastic. I fry them up and make shrimp tacos with them. And then they get the mini chocolate cakes. Well, you can get ready-made sides, desserts, main courses. You get great steak, and right now it's 50% off site-wide, just in time for the holidays at omahasteaks.com. And then at checkout, put in promo code Erick, E-R-I-C-K. You'll get an extra $30 off. It's going to be a great gift for you. Buy it for yourself. Buy it for your friends and loved ones. Buy it for business colleagues you want to impress. It always impresses because that's what Omaha Steaks does. They've been doing it since 1917. Just in time for Christmas, 50% off site-wide. omahasteaks.com. Put Erick in as your promo code for an extra $30 off. Hello, America. Welcome. It's Erick Erickson here. Your values, then putting them in some sort of government school where they're going to get indoctrinated by people who don't share your values. You know, there's nothing wrong with raising your kids according to your values. This is an unwarranted stigma. Vox.com is a left-wing website. And a guy named Zach Beecham, who one time wrote that there was a mysterious bridge connecting Gaza and the West Bank. There's not, by the way. He's just an idiot. This guy wrote an explainer today on why conservatives are championing Daniel Penny, but not Luigi Mangione. What's the difference between the two? And he really obfuscates the difference. He tries to bring in conservative social thought and Russell Kirk and just really spends a whole lot of words, not really explaining anything, but essentially justifying to progressives that somehow they're the superior being. And this is a lot of what goes on with left-wing commentary these days, is a justification for people on the left. I want to play you some audio. It
doesn't make you as much money.
Stop.
And it doesn't.
Let me set this up for you. This is a conversation on MSNBC about the future of the party. And you got to listen to part of this.
It doesn't make you as much money.
And it doesn't. And listen, I've been a consultant. I was a consultant on the Harris campaign.
Yeah.
But you know what? I care about my community first and foremost and the strategies that will reach them. And those strategies are scrappy. They're new. They're different than the old guard. But listen, this isn't the 1990s. We can't continue to run those campaigns. And also, Joe Biden won because of some of that scrappiness, right? In a pandemic, and we had to defeat Donald Trump. And so, it's also disappointing with the DNC. Like, the people that are running to lead the DNC are all white men.
And the thing is, I think about what the voter who was ride or die for Kamala Harris looked like. It looked like the people at this table.
Like
it looked like AOC. Latinas voted with her. It was Latino men. But so the reality is you're not bringing to the table the people who showed you how to win because they voted for her. They were willing to ride with her. You're chasing Republican voters who, no matter what Trump does, are going to vote for Trump.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what he does.
Listen, the party should be led, to your point, by young women of color. right?
Come on.
Because young
You wanna
women
win?
of color are the reasons that Democrats do actually have some of these wins. And we know how to communicate in ways that reach that more moderate voter, but also that progressive voter, because we
Really? Kamala Harris, not exactly a great communicator. And here's the problem with these sorts of psychoanalysis by progressives. When you listen to progressives, one of the things, there's a difference between, and I got to be real careful here because not everyone who's on the right is a conservative. Conservatism comes with a level of humility because we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. Are you a superlapsarian or an infralapsarian? I'm a superlapsarian. I bet you have no idea what that means unless you've been to seminary. Infralapsarian and superlapsarian. Did God set about the whole plan of redemption before or after Adam and Eve encountered the fruit in the garden? Did he put the whole plan in place before creation, before the first day of creation? Or did he do it after the fall? He did it before everything. Before he created everything, he knew exactly what was going to happen, how it was going to play out, designed it that way, and I have no idea why. But whether you're an infralapsarian or superlapsarian, there's a difference between the two, but also there's a humility that comes with you're never really sure, and you don't really know the answer. Why on God's good earth did he set this whole thing up? I have no idea. So there's a level of humility there. And that level of humility comes not just from faith, but also if you're a conservative, here's the thing. This goes to the Dunning-Kruger effect. We are all conservative about that which we know best. Every single person, however progressive you are, is conservative about that which you know best. And part of conservatism comes with a level of humility, and part of being an expert comes with a level of doubt. The people most convinced of something tend to be the people with the least bit of knowledge about that thing. The people who are most convinced, for example, and I'm going to step on some of your toes right here, the people most convinced the 2020 election was stolen are the people least expert in election law. The people most convinced the drones in New Jersey are UFOs are the people least knowledgeable about drones. The people most convinced that fluoride in American public drinking water causes brain damage are the people least knowledgeable about fluoride in drinking water. The people who are the most knowledgeable are willing to be challenged and willing to doubt and willing to explain and willing to engage. And progressives have no sense of humility. So they tend to be the dumbest people in the room who think they're the smartest. Progressives tend to think they need not know history because history is always new for them. One of the things Jonah Goldberg wrote in his great book, Liberal Fascism, is that progressives never need a sense of history because they always think they're on the right side of history and they have no need to learn from the past. They view the past as old, outmoded, racist, whatever. I personally think there's a lot to learn from the past. I try to pay attention to the past. I try to exercise some level of humility. And that gets into our education system. Take new math. So my producer is sending his kids to a classical Christian school that has embraced Singapore math. Singapore math, just so you understand, is Common Core. They've just changed the name. This is one of the things Common Core advocates do. And a lot of people and a lot of trend lines have decided, hey, we should rethink math. Math is no longer math. Math can no longer be the tried and the true method you and I used. It's got to be something new. It's got to be something shiny. They got to use blocks and models and draw it out and rethink it. They've changed math. And what you find in American educational systems is every 20 or 30 years, you have some new trend line that comes around and just screws everything up. Remember, for a long time, kids were taught to read and write by phonics, and it worked. And then they're like, oh, no, now we need the whole word method, and literacy declined. And guess what? They're moving back to phonics now. Eventually, they'll scrap the Singapore method and they'll go back to real math. In education, they lack humility, and they always want the new and shiny. And part of that new and shiny is outmoded values in this country. Progressives don't like traditional values. And they've convinced themselves, well, those aren't traditional values. They are white man's values. And suddenly what we're generating are a bunch of monsters, ill-behaved monsters with no ethical core. So at Vox, the progressives are trying to explain to progressives how morally superior they are by why conservatives are distinguishing between Daniel Penny and Luigi Mangione. And by the way, it's progressives who see the opposite. Here's how I see Daniel Penny versus Luigi Mangione. Daniel Penny stopped a man from attacking other people, held him down, and the guy was still alive when he left Daniel Penny's care. And even if he wasn't alive when he left Daniel Penny's care, he was a threat to other people, and Daniel Penny was keeping people safe and then found not guilty by a jury of his peers. Luigi Mangione was not hurt by Brian Thompson. Brian Thompson was not a threat to him or his family, but he decided to become judge, jury, and executioner all in one. There is a bright and stark difference between the two. And yet we have a bunch of progressive kids in this country who can't distinguish between them, or to the extent they do, they think the man protecting people was the bad guy, and the guy taking justice into his own hands is the good guy. We're breeding an army of murderers in this country, in our public school system, in our elite institutions. This kid was an Ivy League grad who decided he could be judge, jury, and executioner in defiance of the whole of the American system, and the left is very happy with him and very upset that a jury of his peers let Daniel Penny off for daring to protect people on a subway system. And they can't understand conservatives and think, oh, we must be racist. The one guy was white and his victim was black, and the other were two white dudes, and that's why you're upset the white dude died and the black dude died. No, that's not it at all. But God forbid you have to understand morality. God forbid you have to understand law and order. And God forbid you have to understand real justice. People on the left are so arrogant and also so dumb. And they have taken over our cultural institutions and our academic institutions, and they wish to make your children dumber and more amoral or immoral. There are great public schools in this country. Don't get me wrong. There actually are really good public schools in this country. I have a number of relatives who are public school teachers, and they do a very good job. They are grounded in their faith, and they avoid all the woke nonsense. But even they can't deny that a bunch of woke progressives have invaded the academy, the elementary, secondary, and collegiate level to indoctrinate kids, not to teach them, educate them, and put them out into the world to become those with jobs and job creators, but to indoctrinate them into the values of the left. And the result is that 40% of kids, not kids, adults, 18 to 29, 40% of them thought it was perfectly fine for Luigi Mangione to gun down a healthcare CEO. It's not okay. And I suspect that most of that 40% are either a bunch of privileged, wealthy kids, or a bunch of kids indoctrinated by a bunch of progressives in government-run schools. Find yourselves a good classical Christian school or homeschool your kids if you can, and not everyone can. And if you can't, you got to be extra vigilant in your public school because of what some nut might be teaching your kid. It's sad, but it's the reality. You got to ground your kids in faith, not in whatever the progressives want your kid to believe.
You can follow Erick around on social media
Congressman Thomas Massey says he's going to oppose Speaker Johnson's reelection as Speaker of the House. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are coming out saying they want the CR to die. I do too. But I sure do understand the position that the Speaker's in. The reality is this. Thomas Massey isn't going to vote for any continuing resolution. You got a 3-seat majority, basically. Thomas Massey isn't going to vote for any continuing resolution. I don't blame him, but the government will have to be funded at some point. And I know you and I can take the position, no, you don't have to fund it, but they're going to get it funded. And you know it and I know it. Even if you don't think it should, you know it and I know it. So Massey is down, Massey's gone. So now you can only lose 2 more, and you're going to find 2 more members of the House Freedom Caucus who say we're not voting for any spending legislation at all because those people exist. So now you got to rely on Democrats to get it funded. So you're going to start getting deals with Democrats. So what happens with the 3-seat majority? I like the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. I think this is a terrible deal that needs to be killed, but I also do understand his position. And sometimes it's hard for people to balance those 2 things together. You're not going to get a socially, fiscally conservative Speaker of the House ever again if you're so willing to oust Mike Johnson. You'll get some establishment squish. And you can say Johnson's an establishment squish, but he's got an entire record in Congress prior to being Speaker of the House. His obligations are different from then, though. Right now, he is the Speaker of the whole House of the United States of America. He's not just the Speaker of the conservatives in the House of Representatives. It's a terrible position for a guy like that to be in. It's going to be difficult for him. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, who opposed the Speaker last time, says she will vote for the Speaker of the House this time on January 3rd. Donald Trump has told everybody, all the Republicans, he wants all of them to rally around Mike Johnson and get him reelected. But gosh, this is a terrible package, and it should. I get the position he's in. I'm sympathetic to it, but it's a terrible piece of legislation. A continuing resolution should not be 1,545 pages. This thing needs to die. By the way, they can't amend it. The rule says they cannot amend this legislation, so they need to vote against it. It's terrible. It's bad legislation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. When we come back, I will take your phone calls. Right now, I got to say, if you're looking for a special gift to give a loved one for Christmas and they are into smoking meats, I know some of you are looking at Traegers. There's a company over in Augusta, Georgia. This isn't an ad. This is not an ad. I wish they paid me. Tried to get them as an advertiser. There's a company called RecTech. They're better than Traeger's, people. If you're looking at a pellet grill for Christmas, go with RecTech, not Traeger. The build quality is better. They last longer. Their computer parts are made here. All of these companies, their parts are put together in China, but RecTech puts its computer parts together here. They last a long time. They get hotter than a Traeger typically. They're far better. RecTech, RecTeq. They're in Augusta, Georgia. They're U.S. made, and they're wonderful people, and that's the pellet grill you want. Welcome back. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Let us go to the phones. David, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you? Great. Thank you. That doesn't surprise me at all. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's also, David, one of the other points that's worth making with these cabinet picks from Joe Biden is more than 80% of Joe Biden's picks, not just for his cabinet, primary cabinet, but also for assistant secretaries, they came from the nonprofit sector. Joe Biden has a higher percentage of cabinet secretaries from the nonprofit sector than any president other than Barack Obama, which is remarkable. Yeah. Yep. Yes. Yeah, actually, you're actually right. It is 1 in 10 of Joe Biden's cabinet picks have had to do a private sector payroll in the past. And you can tell that they have no appreciation for what goes on in the private sector. So the Department of Energy, I got a note from a buddy of mine. He works for Renai. You know the Renai tankless water heaters? We've got one at our house. It is fantastic. So my daughter has very long hair. She's only cut it once. She gets it trimmed, but it is very long and very thick. And side note, we were having almost $200 water bills at our house. My kid went to college, and our water bills are less than $90 a month now. Fascinating, is it not? But we have a tankless water heater because we had regular water heaters, and we'd run out of hot water. She'd take a shower and be in there forever. So we got the Renai tankless water heater. And as long as our propane tank stays filled, which it does, we have unlimited. I can stand in the shower all day long with hot water. It is wonderful. Well, the Department of Energy under Joe Biden has decided to pass a regulation that will ban tankless water heaters. Now, the irony here is that they're 20 to 40% more efficient than standard water heaters, but the standard water heaters will remain, and the tankless ones are going to go away, along with 200 jobs just at one facility in the state of Georgia that makes them. Why? Because Jennifer Granholm is a Canadian who came to the United States, who became a politician, who's never really worked in the private sector, and she thinks this is just hunky-dory as a way to save the environment. Part of the reason is because lobbyists in air conditioning companies decided that if you route your water through your coils for your air conditioner, you get hot water. And so they've been lobbying for this, and they want to shut down their competitors in the tankless hot water system. And the Biden administration, they sold them on climate change, and it worked. 200 people in Georgia stand to lose their jobs unless this regulation is rolled back. And they don't care because Biden lost Georgia to begin with. And even though regular water heaters are still going to stay around, this is all because these people don't work in the real world. They've never worked in the real world. Pete Buttigieg got out of the military, God bless him for his service, went straight into politics. All these people are career politicians or work in the nonprofit sector. They haven't had to meet payrolls. They've survived on the largesse of donors and taxpayers. And you can tell it in the way they formed their policies. Roger, you're going to be next. Welcome. Right. Yeah, see, I'm totally with you. I know there are people, Roger, who are infralapsarians, and I mean no disrespect to them. I just think that I think this whole plan was put in place before creation itself, which is the larger issue here. We can take theology largely out of it in these theological debates, but that's why people get mad at me sometimes because there are things I get worked up on, and if you're a longtime listener, you know. But a lot of stuff that get a lot of people worked up about, I'm like, I can't change it. It doesn't directly impact me. So why am I going to get worked up about it? The drones, for example. There are people who are just deeply worked up about the drones. I can't change it. I'm not in charge of it. It's not affecting me. Why am I going to lose my mind over it? God's got a plan. Everything's taken care of. I'm going to be fine. May not like the way the world goes for a while, but it's all part of a plan that I can't see, and I'm going to be okay. I'm totally going to be fine. And so are you. We may not like it. I've had a friend who passed away this year, struggled for a very long time, sought miracles, and none were given, and died. And it was a tragedy for all of us. But also, we understand that we can't escape the tragedies of this world. God didn't either. But God's got a plan. We sometimes don't understand it. We don't see it. We don't get it. It can frustrate us. We can be impatient. But I sleep well at night knowing that God's in charge. I trust in the sovereignty of God. All right, Cindy, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you? Yes. I am actually literally in commercial break working on doing just that. Yeah, oh, Cindy, look, I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm glad you called. I was wondering whether or not I should even attempt it. But yeah, I think it is. So I've been working on it during commercial break and hope to have it out here shortly for everybody. Thank you very much for the call, Cindy. Those of you who want to take action, and essentially, here's what this is. It is a way for you to call your members of Congress and say, don't do this. Or you can send them an email or you can tweet them and just say, don't pass the continuing resolution. If you want to be a part of it, you got to sign up for our Army of Activists. And the way you sign up for our Army of Activists is you text the word Army to 33777. Text Army to 33777. And you'll get an email. And it'll be a link to our Action Center where you can go and sign up and say, don't pass this continuing resolution. Do better. And I think we owe it to members of Congress across the aisle to hear. Now, some of you are going to say, well, my member of Congress is a Democrat. Well, they may not like what's in the plan as well, particularly this taking members of Congress off Obamacare or and giving them private insurance again. Yeah, that's a number one point is they need to restructure this. And you need to call your member of the House and tell them you're opposed to this and you want them opposed to it and bring pressure to bear on them. Be kind and tell them you understand it's very difficult. But also, they need to kill it. Surely they can do better. I think they can. I honestly think part of what's going on here is a lot of these guys are just ready to get out of town. I don't know about y'all, but today feels like a Friday to me. I still got 2 more days this week. And it feels like a Friday. It is. I wish y'all could see. I wish I realize it's radio. But until about 12 o'clock today, I couldn't see out my window. It was completely foggy. And now there's still a little bit of a haze of fog. There is no blue in the sky. It is dark and dreary. The temperature is beginning to drop. It's going to be cold. Tonight, the winds are going to come in and blow out all the cloud, the fog, and the drizzle. And tomorrow, the temperatures are really going to drop. And it's going to be very cold by the weekend here in the middle of Georgia. It is just a dreary, miserable day. and it's getting early. It's getting dark so early now. Look, again, I won't get back on my tangent about you people who get up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, like my dad, who gets up so early in the morning. I'm like, I like to see the back of my eyes too much to do that. But I just don't like it getting as dark as it does, as early as it does in the afternoon. I'm in my office all day. I go to the gym when the show is over. I go to the gym. I get out of the gym by 4:30. It's already almost dark. I can't go play golf. I can't go outside and do stuff because it's dark. And it for the first time in a long time. And part of it is I'm really tired this year. So not to go off and make this about me as opposed to the news headlines, but normally when the election hits, after the election is over, I take several days off. And this year, immediately after the election, I was on the road to multiple places. And even I did take a couple of days and I went to Las Vegas, but I was still working out there for a couple of days and had the weekend off. And I've just been nonstop. I've been on airplanes more in the last month and a half than I was the 2 months before the election. Just nonstop going places. And I finally I'm at the point where I can feel it. And this whole week, like I was up until midnight last night. I was recording ads and getting the show ready and making a cake for my wife for her birthday today. We got to go celebrate her birthday tonight. And then when she goes to bed, I got to go back into the recording studio and I got to record stuff for next week while I'm gone. I'm ready for this to be over. And it doesn't help that it gets so dark so early. I come home, I'm tired, and I look out. It's 6 p.m. and it's pitch black outside. I do not like that. But we're not, and by the way, this is the first year where it's really gotten to me. I think it's just because everything else, I've been so tired and so busy, like I can't enjoy the afternoon. By the time I get out here, like I could, in theory, leave here and go to the golf course and play golf, and the sun would be setting. I could get at least 9 holes in before it was too dark to play. But I've been trapped at my desk every day for the last month. There's no way out. And so this year has probably bothered me more than it ever has before. Now, my oldest sister, what's it called? Seasonal affected disorder, or SAD, or whatever they call it. My oldest sister tends to deal with a little bit of depression, or she did. She got one of those lights that she uses now. But for a long time, and she's not alone. I know a number of people who suffer, and it really is a thing. Seasonal affected disorder. When there's less light during the wintertime, it can spark depression for some people. It's a real thing. And I got to be honest, for a long time, I thought it was nuts. My sister, though, deals with it. And now I know a number of people who deal with it, who, because there isn't as much daylight, they tend to battle depression during the wintertime. And you can get certain lights that you do. It's not something, I forget what they're called, but essentially there's a bright lights you can get for your house, and you can sit in front of them, and they help you battle seasonal affective disorder because they kind of mimic the sun. But this is the first year I'm like, my gosh, I really am tired of it being pitch black at 6 p.m. And I've never been that way. And I think part of it is just I've been so busy for the last month and a half, and I haven't had a moment to just hit the brakes and do anything. I'm ready for a time off. Normally, I'm good, but this year I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to do a lot of traveling over Christmas, so it's not going to be as restful as I wanted. So I'll have some recharge as well. Yeah, I think we all kind of need it at this point, but it sure does feel like a Friday today, and I know it's just because the nature of the week. We're almost there though. Christmas is Wednesday. I got my email today from my office that we'll close early. I mean, Kobe and I'll be on the radio on Wednesday, on Tuesday. Kobe, poor guy, just signed up to replace Jim as he retired. He's got to come to work on Christmas Day to get the show out. We got to work on that automation process for days like Christmas. But nonetheless, there are a lot of you who have to go to work on Christmas Eve and Christmas. You are the indispensable people keeping society going, and so at least know that you are appreciated. I will get up on Friday morning and wait at 5 o'clock in the morning, freezing my butt off for the guys who pick up our trash so I can give them each some cash for Christmas. Because those are the guys. I mean, you think about your trash collectors. Talk about indispensable people. If we didn't have somebody coming by and picking up your trash once a week, how you would have to deal with it. These guys do. So I try to get up before the sun rises, before they get out there, because I don't want to oversleep past them and give them something for Christmas every year. Indispensable people doing the jobs that you and I wouldn't otherwise want to do. All right, enough about that. We'll be right back.
He'll do the research and give it to you.
That rejoin is perfect. So here's what's going to happen, and I need you to timestamp this. It's 2:55 p.m. Eastern time, as I'm telling you this, because some of you are listening in delay. If you text the word Army to 33777, you can sign up for our Army of Activists. You click the link, and you will see there. Whenever you do it, fill out the information. And once you do, so you'll get a link. You fill out your name, your zip code, your email address. And then once you've done that, if you follow the link again, it'll show you available campaigns. And this campaign, it's not posted yet, but it'll be posted shortly. It'll be Stop the Continuing Resolution. And you'll be able to call your member of Congress, give you a feel for our action center. You'll be able to call your member of Congress and say it's a bad deal, kill the continuing resolution, and just flood their phone lines. Tell them, don't do it. It's a bad deal. So years ago, we did a research project. The number one thing people said about this program was that you never knew what I was going to say on an issue or what I was even going to talk about. A lot of conservative talk radio has gotten pretty predictable. You know the topics, you know the stances. And so I appreciated that nobody has any idea what I'm going to talk about, let alone what I'm going to say on an issue. Number two was that people appreciated that I tried to give them solutions, not just rant, but give them solutions. And this really is the genesis that I pay for this out of my own pocket. It's a pretty expensive system that I pay for. Radio stations don't. My flagship station doesn't. I do it myself. And we actually haven't deployed it this year, so it's the perfect time. We actually let it die for a little while because we just weren't using it enough, and I wanted to bring it back to do different cool stuff, and so this will be our test run. If you text the word Army to 33777, you'll get a link. You click that link, and it's going to ask you for your first and last name, your zip code, and your email address, and that's how we will know, one, how to contact you, and two, where you are and who your congressman is. So then we will email the action alert to the email address you give us, and you'll find it in your inbox. And when you click the link, you'll see a button. You'll be able to call your member of Congress and say, the continuing resolution is bad, please kill it. And you'll hear my voice. I'll be able to walk you through it. It's an updated system, too, and I haven't actually done a call to action yet. So I'm gonna finish this, and we'll send it out here in just a little while. But here's the other thing. If you have already signed up and you text the word Army to 33777, when you follow the link, you'll see the Action Center. And so when I post this in a little while, so I'm time-stamping it. So for you who are listening on delay, you'll already see it. You go through, you'll see our Action Center. You'll see the Stop the Continuing Resolution. You can call them. Many members of Congress have voicemails. Even if it's after hours, you'll be able to call them and say, we think this is a terrible idea. Kill the continuing resolution. And it is. It's a bad continuing resolution. They should not need 1,545 pages to just continue funding. It's more like an omnibus. They're just not calling it that. They're trying to exempt themselves from Obamacare, which is a terrible idea. If they're too chicken to repeal it, they should stick with it. And so I want you to be able to be involved, to take action. Text the word Army to 33777, and I'll bring you the latest tomorrow. We'll see if we can get this thing killed.